It has not enhanced their image. It has not made those states look like they are welcoming. It has not made those states look like they are trying to attract and appeal to all comers. And that's the reality, and there are economic consequences to that. And there have been economic consequences to that in other states. And that's not a road that we would like to go down. The third is a straight business concern, and that is in the area of liability. And it doesn't take, there's not too many things to get a business's attention more than a liability concern. And in this situation where you would have a codified ability for a business owner to make a decision to not offer service to someone based upon their religious beliefs, it can set up a situation where, unless it is that business owner that is carrying forward that company policy, you could have employees of that business carrying that out on their own accord. And sometimes consistent with, and sometimes not consistent with, the employer's company policy. And in that situation, you could have an emboldened workforce that is customer-facing, making decisions in the belief that their religious beliefs are protected, and they're carrying out duties on behalf of an employer, setting up significant liability concerns for that employer. And that's not a situation that we would like to see put in place. And fourth, I would say that it is apparent to us in consultation with different legal representation that the protections that are afforded under the First Amendment and in the Iowa Constitution for freedom of religion within the court system are in. And we believe that that has worked and can continue to work. And we urge the body to move forward in that direction. And we appreciate your consideration for these concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. We can go a little over there, and then we're cutting everybody off right at 3 minutes. Try to keep them as close as you can to 3 minutes. Thank you.
My name is Jeff Ferguson. I'm the pastor of Glory Baptist Church, and I'm here representing my congregation. In 1786, the first Religious Freedom Act was enacted in Virginia. Hear the hallowed words of Thomas Jefferson. Almighty God hath created the mind free, and all attempts to influence it by temporal punishments or burdens or by civic incapacitations tend only to begat habits of hypocrisy and meanness. All men shall be free to profess and by argument to maintain their opinion in matters of religion. Our nation was founded for the freedom of religion. It is worth noting entire colonies were established precisely to serve as religious sanctuaries for various denominations of a Christian church. Pennsylvania, a Quaker state, Maryland, a Catholic state, Massachusetts, a Puritan state, and so on. There has been a methodical and deliberate attack on religious liberty. 1962, removing prayer from schools. 1963, removing Bible reading from schools. 1980, removing the Ten Commandments from schools. 2000, removing the Ten Commandments from our courthouses. In 2014, the mayor of Houston subpoenas 5 pastors' sermon notes for a smear campaign. 2017, Master P. Cake Shop for refusal to participate in a private event. Lost his business, his livelihood. I'm asking our senators to protect not just my right for freedom of speech and my freedom of religion, but protect my right for a clear conscience between God and man. Please do not let a corporation put dollars and cents on liberty. It is our responsibility to restore religious liberty and protect both sides in the debate. All we're asking is for a chance to stand unhindered in court. It is not freedom to attempt to control the opposition. This is tyranny. This is the very idea that the signers of the Declaration of Independence were opposed to when they wrote that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, it is the right of the people to alter and to abolish it and to establish and institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its power in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. This Religious Freedom Restoration Act is our safety and happiness for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. You have that time well.
Barbara Solberg with the Cedar Rapids Metro Economic Alliance. The Economic Alliance is a business coalition of over 1,200 business members, and we are registered against this legislation. I echo what my partners from the Chamber Alliance and principal said before. In opposition, it harms our ability to attract and retain community events, business, and our ever most challenging workforce growth. It harms the ability to attract good workforce. Thank you.
Hey, you just timed that really well.
Remember that.
That's good, Mr. Chair. That's good.
Thank you, Senators Booth, Elmer, and Poe for having this subcommittee meeting today for SF 240. My name is Denise Bubeck, and I am with the Church Ambassador Network of the Family Leader Foundation. Today it is humbling to come before you and speak on behalf of freedom, specifically religious freedom. I am the proud granddaughter of Private Leon Gordon of the 5th Division Marines who fought and died on Iwo Jima. He gave his life for each of us here today, and each of our freedoms. We have the freedom to respect and honor one another in civility. We live in a time where we each can be who we are. And I think that's a tribute to each of the men who gave it all so we can be free. When the brutal battle of Iwo Jima ended and thousands had died, these men who had uncommon valor and whose uncommon valor was their common virtue, they gave their lives so we could remain free. Such valor and virtue certainly enables and challenges us today to consider SF 240. And thereby ensure that through this law, our religious liberties will be upheld. I looked at it from the perspective that we need SF 240 here in Iowa to strengthen our religious freedoms. America is a land of religious freedom, and people from many faiths come to America for this freedom. Iowa is a place of diversity, and SF 240 protects that diversity. In Iowa, we have churches of many denominations, as well as many synagogues, mosques, and Hindu temples. SF 240 will protect people of all faiths, and even people of no faith at all, from efforts to use government to restrict these freedoms. I have also worked with many refugees who have come to Iowa, fleeing their country because of their government restricting their personal religious freedom. When they arrive in Iowa, it is a great relief to them to know they are free to live and work according to their faith, without the fear of being unjustly punished by the government. Therefore, we support SF 240, as it provides a common sense way of balancing government interests with religious freedom, and it guarantees us a fair hearing when the law conflicts with the fundamental freedom of individuals to live out their faith. In my job, faith is important, and it's a blessing to live in a state that has so many faith leaders who want to lead their people to live out their faith in every aspect of their life, in their families, in their careers, and throughout their many businesses. We never want to take this freedom, religious freedom, lightly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Connie Ryan, lobbyist for Interfaith Alliance of Iowa Action Fund, and we strongly oppose Senate File 240. I represent thousands of people across the state from many faith traditions, as well as people of no faith. The rule of law is important to all of us, creating broad religious exemptions that allow people to pick and choose which laws they're going to follow or not weakens all of our laws. I don't generally talk about my personal faith at the State House, but you should know that my faith is an extremely important part of my life, as it is for many Iowans. This bill would allow someone to deny me or anyone else services if they disagree with their beliefs. People who are Jewish or Muslim, Sikh or atheist, Hindu or Christian, Protestant and Catholic refused to serve them, refused to provide medical care, refused to allow them to enter their establishment, refused to let them rent an apartment, simply because of a religious exemption that they claim. The rights of people who are LGBTQ, women, people of color, people with disabilities, all have been in the past and would be impacted by the weakening of our Iowa Civil Rights Act and other laws that protect Iowans from discrimination. In 2015, Indiana lost millions in revenue and faced national scorn when it passed a similar RFRA law. When the Indiana legislature passed the RFRA law, there was an uproar by the business community, but also by many in the broader religious community. My own denomination, Christian Church Disciples of Christ, was to hold its General Assembly gathering of clergy and members from across the nation in Indianapolis that summer. When RFRA passed, our leaders quickly decided that if the law was not changed, they would cancel our General Assembly, a multi-million-dollar impact on tourism in that state. Additionally, our denomination's general offices are housed in Indianapolis, and conversation was held about possibly moving the offices to another state if the RFRA was not changed. Ironically, the General Assembly of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ is scheduled to be held in Des Moines this summer, this July. Over 4,000 people are scheduled to come to Des Moines, spending millions of dollars over 6 days. I am in conversation with our leadership, and should this bill pass, it is extremely likely that the General Assembly of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ will not be held in Des Moines in July. Our denomination feels so strongly about RFRA and its racist, homophobic, and Christian privilege underpinnings that St. Louis and Kansas City lost out on being considered for the next General Assembly, specifically because Missouri has RFRA laws. Religious freedom is one of our nation's fundamental values. We are promised by the First Amendment that the government cannot promote any one
Could you wrap
religion.
up your 3 minutes, sir?
Thank you.
I hate to interrupt you. Thank you. And
My name is Joan Thompson.
just before you take off here, just wanted to let everybody know we'll probably take 2 more people here so we can leave time at the end for senators' comments and that sort of thing. Probably, let's see, 3 more.
And I'll read quickly. Thank you. I'm from the Iowa Catholic Conference. My name is Joan Thompson, and I am a research associate here today representing the conference. The Iowa Catholic Conference supports Senate File 240, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. We thank the many co-sponsors for bringing this bill forward. This bill is very similar to federal RFRA law that has been in place since the early 1990s. 21 states have a similar law, and 10 states have a similar provision due to court action. This bill provides a standard of review for the court when there's a conflict between the First Amendment's protection of free exercise of religion and a particular law. This is not a license to discriminate. It simply gives people and institutions a chance in court. It says that government should not substantially burden a person's exercise of religion unless it can be demonstrated that applying that burden is a compelling government interest and the least restrictive means of furthering that interest. Many groups here today are probably looking at this legislation almost exclusively through the lens of LGBTQ issues, which is valid. But we would ask you to consider this issue from a different angle as well. We are particularly concerned about Iowa's law, which allows people to refuse to participate in an abortion. We are deeply concerned how that law may be interpreted in light of the recent Iowa Supreme Court's finding that abortion is now a fundamental right in the state of Iowa. This possible conflict is exactly the situation that Senate File 240 is designed to address, so physicians and others are guaranteed the opportunity to present their position in court. In addition, when government forces a group of Catholic nuns, Little Sisters of the Poor, to pay for contraception in their health care plans in violation of their deeply held religious beliefs, a law like this is needed. Christian group is no longer allowed to choose its own leadership by the government, as has happened at one of our state universities, this law is needed. Finally, we believe the exemption for the Department of Corrections should be removed from this bill. We believe this law should cover all government agencies. Senate File 240 treats all religious practice equally and helps put some structure on the First Amendment here in Iowa. We believe that respect for personal conscience and freedom of religion preserves diversity and ensures the application and preservation of all of our freedoms. Thank you.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Senators, thank you for the opportunity. I will be brief. My name is Andrea Woodard. I'm with the Greater Des Moines Partnership. We represent over 340 investors and 6,400 members in an 8-county region here in central Iowa. I just want to echo the remarks made by my colleagues at the Cedar Rapids Metro Economic Alliance, the Iowa Chamber Alliance, of which we are a member, and our member Principal Financial Group. Workforce is the #1 challenge we hear from our members, and other states have seen that when bills such as this are passed, they've seen massive disinvestment and a decrease in workforce as a result. Therefore, the partnership is opposed to Senate File 240. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for being brief.
Thank you, Senator Guth and other senators. Chuck Hurley with the Family Leader. We support this bill. Thanks for bringing it. To me, the biggest issue of this hearing and this bill is the truth. What is the truth about economic development or decline or hit? What does happen? I'm convinced that some in this room have been misled or perhaps lied to about the economic impact of passing a RFRA. I'd like to read some stats from not the Family Leader, but the U.S. Department of Commerce. 21 states have adopted RFRAs. The U.S. Department of Commerce cites that in the year following passage of RFRA, those states' gross domestic product grew by an average of 4.1%. Several states had GDP growth in excess of 6% following enactment. According to the U.S. Department of Commerce data, in every state that has adopted a RFRA, the GDP of the arts, entertainment, recreation, accommodation, and food service industries grew the year following RFRA's enactment. The average GDP growth in tourism and entertainment was 4.8%. Arizona's was 11.7%, Illinois' 10.1%, and so on. So while there are threats, and there have been what I would term ganging up on, maybe a more pernicious word, bullying, talking about how this is going to devastate Iowa, the facts from the U.S. Department of Commerce do not back that up. My urging to you, senators, is that you look at the facts and you look back in the face of those who are telling you this is going to be harmful economically. It's not true historically. Iowa would be the first state to have an economic hit from passing RFRA. It's not true. Even if it were a short-term economic impact, even if there was a cancellation or 2 or 3 or 10, it's simply not true that that is sustained. That is a threat that is being brought to you. And I would submit in my closing argument to you, there's something as important as listening to those threats and being concerned about a cancellation. And that is what our founders and people all the way up to 2019 have fought and died for. And that is our first freedom mentioned in our Bill of Rights. This tie that I'm wearing is illegal in 50 countries around the world. We have something special in the United States. RFRA has passed in the United States, and I don't believe that we should call the United States a racist country because it passed RFRA. Bill Clinton signed the bill. Chuck Schumer, Ted Kennedy co-sponsored the bill. RFRA is not racist, and it does not harm economic development. I urge you to pass it for the fairness and for keeping religious liberty sacred and special in Iowa. We need it. We need it. 21 states have recognized that. Let's be 22. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel Zeno, ACLU of Iowa. The ACLU opposes SF 240. We strongly support religious freedom, a fundamental American value. We also stand for the American values of equality, fair treatment, and freedom. We are gravely concerned about this proposed legislation, a broad RFRA which would undermine our state's proud history of ensuring that all Iowans are treated fair. The stakes couldn't be higher in Iowa. Unlike the overwhelming majority of states with existing RFRAs or recent RFRA battles, Iowa has a comprehensive statewide civil rights act that covers both sexual orientation and gender identity. Iowa is one of only 19 states in the country that does this. A RFRA would undermine this critical statutory protection for vulnerable Iowans. The Iowa Civil Rights Act is well designed to protect religious exercise right now. For example, Iowa's public accommodation law exempts bona fide religious institutions. Iowa Code Section 216.7, sub 2. That ensures that religious institutions that limit access to only those of their faith can preserve their religious character. That also ensures that when an institution, any institution, is open to the public, its owners will not be able to pick and choose whom they will serve. A few concerns about the bill in particular. The bill doesn't define person. This will likely mean that the Iowa courts would use the default definition found in Iowa Code Section 4.1 that includes individuals, corporations, limited liability companies, government or governmental subdivisions or agencies, business, trusts, partnerships, associations, or any other legal entities. Those are the people who have the right to claim this religious exemption. The bill, while at the same time also broadly defines the exercise of religion to include any action that is motivated by a sincerely held religious belief, even if the action is not compelled by or central to the system of religious belief. Finally, the bill excludes the Department of Correction, which leads us to the question, do people who are incarcerated not deserve to also have religious freedom? In closing, we don't have to go very far back in history to understand why prohibiting religious exemptions in this context furthers equality. Religion has been used to justify the exclusion of certain classes of people to otherwise publicly accessible institutions like restaurants, universities, and government offices based on race, gender, sexual orientation, or religious belief. We shouldn't turn the clock back in Iowa. Iowa has led the nation in expanding and protecting everyone's rights and freedoms. We urge legislators to maintain this proud tradition and vote no on Senate File 240. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it would be appropriate here to have comments from our senators. Perhaps I'll let Senator Etler go first, Senator Holt follow, and I'll wrap up. If that suits you.
Thank you everyone for coming out today. This is definitely an important issue going all the way back to the founding of our country. There's been a few things pointed out as we went through testimonies that appears may need to be talked about. When looking at liability between employee and employers and dealing with policy. Also looking at some of the definitions and in dealing with Department of Corrections was another issue that I think needs a further examination, but I am willing to sign this bill forward with taking a look at those specific areas that I mentioned. So thank you.
Well, Mr. Chair, I've got a little sense of deja vu. I think we did this in 2018, And there are a lot of, I mean, you've heard it today, there are a lot of problems with this concept. One of which is that I'm somebody who believes in the rule of law. Right? And we talked about peyote last year, if you remember that, Senator Good. So if you vote for this, you're basically voting to legalize peyote in Iowa. That's something you can choose to do if you want. I don't think that's what you want to do, but you can choose to do that if you want. I will also say, I know we have religion clauses in our Constitution that have worked. I think we talked last year about steel wheels in Mitchell County. If you remember that, we have religion clauses that people can take to court today already without the statute. And so I think it would be a mistake for us to move forward with something that's so controversial and really puts up a "you're not welcome in Iowa" sign to a lot of people. I think that would be a mistake. So I'd urge us not to move this forward today, end this issue sooner this year than we did last year, right? I mean, it didn't go through last year. I don't think it's going to go through this year. I think you've got fewer co-sponsors this year than you had last year, even though your Republican caucus is larger. So I think the easiest thing to do is just say, let's say we gave it the hearing that people wanted and people had their hearing, and now let's stop it. So I don't plan on signing the report today, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Hogan. I appreciate both Senator Hogan and Senator Etler for bringing their time and expertise to this today. Comment about the exemption for the Corrections Department. That was a concession to Attorney General Tom Miller, who helped me write this bill. He suggested that be added in there, and really wouldn't have a problem if that was taken out. That's not my issue, so willing to consider that as we go forward. Concerning RFRA, it's really not about determining who is right and who is wrong. It is about respecting everyone's beliefs without coercion. We would all like everyone else to believe the same thing that we do. But we need to make sure that we're using reason in order to persuade them, not coercion in order to force them to act according to our beliefs. It seems to me that today's diversity is beginning to sound a lot like yesterday's conformity. It's not just that the business world that suffers from this coercion today. Average citizens in church, in clubs, and at school are all on edge because of the power of this pressure to conform. I know of a college here in Iowa that has a very popular professor who suddenly decided to present as the opposite sex. Employees are afraid of being fired if they forget and call this person by the wrong pronoun. Even worse, they see the confused looks on the students' faces, but know that they dare not explain to them what's going on. There's also youth camps that have had requests from a boy presenting as a girl that they want to be placed in a girl's cabin. This sort of thing is not what Iowa should be about. Thought control is wrong. The Religious Freedom Restoration Act will help bring balance and respect for everyone's wishes and views. I want to say again, thank you to all of you who have attended today, for being here to see this happen and to bring your testimonies. I will be signing this amendment that it would move forward, not this amendment, this bill, that it would move forward and recommend that it is passed. Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.